moving forward. But today's show, we're going to be talking about the 2025 schedule, and it's a I don't want to say brutal. It's not the most difficult schedule in the country, but it's by far not the easiest either. I think most, strength of schedule makers are putting this around the 10 to 15th ranked strength of schedule in the country, which is probably about fair. But I guess, Jake, before we talk about each individual team, when you first take a glance at the schedule, what is the game that sticks out the most to you?
It's the Georgia game, obviously, because both teams are going to be bringing in new quarterbacks. We kind of seen flashes of what Ty Simpson can do. Gunnar Stockton, he looked really good in the SEC championship game a little bit last year for them, and in the bowl game for him when he had to come in and play. So, they kind of know what they're getting with him. But honestly, outside of just a few plays, neither one of these quarterbacks have seen, the SEC top speed from defenses yet. So how is that going to play out in this game? Both sides are going to have, a great core of players. Georgia and Alabama both going to have great defenses, got great wide receiver rooms. Both teams going to have field really good running back rooms. So it's all going to come down to how the offense and defensive line plays for both sides and how the quarterback play is going to be.
Yeah, I mean, if you go back to last year's Georgia game, especially when you look at the first half, it was all about the quarterback play. Jalen Milroe looked unstoppable, looked like the best player in college football, and Alabama picked off Carson Beck a couple times there. So it was really about the quarterback play, especially in that first half. And that second half was just so weird. It's hard to really take anything from that. But, yeah, I mean, obviously the Georgia game sticks out. I think you look at the two Power 4 non-conference matchups against Florida State and Wisconsin. That's obviously kind of eye-opening. You have the rematch against Vanderbilt, the rematch against Oklahoma, a good South Carolina team, a good LSU team. So there's plenty of really interesting matchups there in the schedule. And I think, just 84 days, Jake, from kickoff. That means 12 Saturdays from right now, here in just a couple hours, 12 weeks and 2 hours, Alabama's going to be kicking off against Florida State in Tallahassee. Yeah. That is hard to believe. So the summer is rolling on through, and this schedule is really interesting. And, we've talked a while ago about, trying to give our toughest matchups of this schedule. And it's so hard because each matchup has a little different storyline.
Right.
And you could go, well, obviously Georgia is probably has the most talented roster of the teams they're playing, and teams like LSU as well. But then you have to think about, Oklahoma kind of had Alabama's number last year. Then they bring in John Mateer, which is an obvious upgrade at quarterback. Their receiver room is going to be is healthy. Their defense is going to be good. So
they brought a really good running back in too, and Ott.
Yes, Jordan Ott from California. So that's not going to be an easy game.
Nope.
You got to go to South Carolina and play Lenore Sellers, who's going to be one of the better quarterbacks in the country.
Yep.
I mean, so there's so many different ways you could look at this. You got to go to Auburn, Jake.
Yeah.
And, say what you will about Auburn, it's never easy to play in Jordan-Hare Stadium.
It's not.
It's the last two times Alabama's played there, they've come away with victories, but it has been by the skin of their teeth.
Yeah, you're right. And this schedule, it's like you said, it's not the worst, but it's there is some trap games to me, like sandwiched, after Georgia we got Vandy, which I know that in circle for a lot of Alabama fans, but I don't know exactly what Missouri is going to have this year, but we got to go to Columbia. That could be a trap game, especially with Tennessee coming up. Right. A few the week after that, and that's another game that I'm sure Alabama fans are going to have circled.
Exactly. So. That's it's so hard to pick. And Trina makes a great point, and that's kind of where I was going to. She kind of beat me to the punch. Is it seemed like last year there was some underestimating going on from the team. They overlooked Vanderbilt. They were not ready for that game.
No,
they were not ready for the Oklahoma game with a trip to the college football playoff on the line. So you can't show up and just think you're going to win. So avoiding those trap games, underestimating your opponents, that's kind of the point we're kind of getting to here because there's no you get Eastern Illinois the week before you play Auburn. But
Yep.
other than that, Jake, there's not an opponent on this schedule who doesn't have the ability to beat you if you don't
R-
show up.
Right. Yeah.
So you
Exactly right.
better show up and play. I mean, and Jekyll and Hyde was a great like Ben
Oh
puts there in
gosh.
in the comment section. That's exactly what this team was and last season. So hopefully they've kind of learned their lesson. Hopefully this coaching staff is and you've heard throughout this offseason how focused this team is. And of course, it's one thing to talk it; you got to show it on the field. But
Right.
if they recognize what they done last year didn't work, as far as being prepared each and every week, hopefully they learn their lesson and be better prepared for the 2026 season.
Yeah, I agree, Stacey. It's I can't believe it's almost. I mean, like you said, it's almost here. It's we still got a little ways to go, but we got plenty to talk about. But man, I'm excited for the season. Just like you said, a lot of the talk, but you're starting to see how this team is starting to gel together. And honestly, not trying to sound like a homer here, but we bring back a lot of talent.
Yeah.
So this team has a chance to be special if the pieces fall in place.